Is that person drawing similarly to you? Kill them.
Now, where's Craig when you turn into like a dubstep?
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Sorry.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Turn into like a dubstep.
Jason!
Watching my exciting loading bar.
If you can't play well, play loud.
Turn into like a dubstep.
I still know how to do it.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason! Is that person drawing better than you?
Turn into like a dubstep.
Apologies to everyone watching. Jason!
Kids don't understand that.
Apologies to everyone watching.
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Drop the bomb.
Kids don't understand that. Welcome, everybody.
Woohoo.
I am happy to announce that we have Eben back today for a beautiful Wednesday. And we got Zach here already.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yay.
And I'm still stumbling around on this page. So don't mind me. How's everyone doing today?
Good, man.
Doing pretty good.
Good.
How are you
better,
doing?
Feeling better this morning, Zach?
Yeah. Thanks for the email, by the way.
Yeah. No worries. Well, all right. So what's new? What should we talk about? What's new in your neck of the woods, Evan?
What's new in our neck of the woods? Just getting a bunch of stuff up and out the door for new episodes of Stuff on Macroverse, including episode 3 of Remind, which went live this morning.
Nice.
Up on there right now. And then actually just a little tease. You don't know what it is yet, so we can't say whether or not it is in fact something that we'll end up working on together. But we just got a really interesting related but slightly tangential project that came in the door. So there's a bunch of interesting possibility there, and something that Jason and I are going to talk about after all
Okay.
this. So.
Yeah. I don't know anything. I don't know.
No idea. So it may be something that dies at this
Yeah.
the tease, or it may be something that turns into something we can talk about.
Yeah.
But it's been obviously a really interesting week, and hard to focus on much of anything other than the insanity in the news cycle, but trying to stay creative and do good stuff as well.
Yeah. What was I just thinking? I was thinking of something right the second before you ended your sentence. I can't remember what it'll come to me.
You'll remind it.
Draw.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, that's what I get for trying to draw at the same time as I'm talking, streaming. It doesn't work. Well, we'll have plenty of time. Welcome, Mary. Welcome, Tobias. Ghost Man. How you guys all doing? Yeah, well, dang it. I know I just need to I want to think, but I don't want to just waste the stream with me like trying to think about what I was gonna say. So we'll just move on and I'll figure it out. So you've been releasing that's it. I just remembered. Did I ever send you, Eben, the second Remind book to prepare? Or is that outstanding?
You know what we have? Yeah, I don't think we have the art yet, so we will.
Okay.
Pretty soon.
Because I've been communicating with this French publisher that's doing something similar to Macroverse there, and they want to put Remind and Cithra on their app, but they're translating it to French, and they're formatting it their way, and they were like, please send us the rest of Remind too. And I was like, oh, well, I already sent this to Evan, so I'll just copy and paste, but I couldn't find the files. So yesterday I spent hours like preparing all these files for him. Anyway, so long story short, I'll send you the same link.
Perfect.
So you guys can don't have to bug me about it later.
That's great. I'm curious, what is their thing? What are they doing?
It's called Muchroom Editions.
Okay.
And I don't know too much about it because it's all in French, like their websites
Right.
and stuff. So their pitch is kind of like, I don't know. I think it's gonna be good. but
Great.
I was contacted through the owner of it, or one of the guys who owns it, or the media guy. I don't know who. I mean, I know him, but it's like weird because all of our messages are translated for us through
Of
Google.
course. Yeah.
And so, but he found me on, I don't know, he's been following me on Instagram and stuff and liked my books and all that stuff. And it seems like they have a lot of money. It's similar to Webtoons, how they seem to have capital in place to build this thing, because they put out this commercial that was really, I could tell based on how the commercial was that, I mean, you know, after working in motion design for a while, it's like, okay, yeah, they spent some money on this.
Yes.
And so, and from what I understand, France is huge with graphic novels and all that stuff. And so I'm just kind of like, and they have a pay schedule similar to Webtoons and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of like, okay, well, if it gets translated and gets into that culture, then I think that would be a really good thing.
Oh, it's awesome. I think, obviously, I think, the French market, I think, is the number 3 in the world.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that's right. As far as just, amount of money on that the comics, their comics industry generates.
Yeah.
But also what's cool is, it is from the research that we've done anyway, and obviously not being a French person, but from the research that we've done, what's cool about France is that, their comics culture is a little more, I guess you could, some people would say this is a positive, some would say negative, but it's a little more highfalutin in what I would say is probably a good way, in that, it's really treated as an art form kind of culturally.
Yeah. I heard that French or rock, comic artists in France are treated like rock stars.
Yeah. Well,
I'm like, okay, that's so different.
The homie of Mobius and humanoids and all that. Stuff. So I suspect Remind will and really all of your work will probably resonate with them pretty
yeah. And they're the same. They approached me about the same time you did.
Yeah.
And so they've been working on it, and they're getting prepared to launch. They had to shut down during the country shutdown because of the virus and stuff. And so they kind of started back up again, and they're like, all right, we're ready. Things are moving fast now.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, but all these opportunities are great, so I'm just going to, as long as they don't tie up the rights of other opportunities, then I'm for it, Yeah,
absolutely. That's great. Awesome.
So, but, I won't be able to promote it very easily because I don't know at all what they're saying about it. Have them on the show and have Google translate live for us. That'd be really good.
That would be a fun show.
So anyway, I don't know exactly the dates on that, when that's going to start coming out, but I'll let people know.
Yeah, super cool.
Any French fans out there will appreciate it. So any new releases other than Remind on Macroverse right now?
The other one that we, it's interesting. Part of what we think about is kind of like pairing seasons and series together as, almost like almost like you would do like a tasting menu or something. So, so we've got a bunch of stuff we're working on, but the two that are kind of actively coming out along with Remind is a series called Black Birch, which we really like a lot. So there's a illustrator from that is a guy named Juan Doe, who's done a tremendous amount of work for Marvel and DC and has kind of shifted over to doing creator-owned comics now. And so this one is a collaboration between him and a really interesting filmmaker named Eduardo Citron. And they created this graphic novel together, and we're just about to start looking for a publisher when everything shut down. And so, Juan's another guy that I've been connected with for a long time, and when I saw that and then saw the book, I was like, oh, we should put this out. And he was like, yes, you should. So so we've got that coming out, and it's just really like one thing I like about his style of art, and at some point I can do a little screen sharing and remind, and also maybe a little bit of that too. But he's got a real interesting mix of kind of somewhat classic, comic sensibility, but also a real strong design aesthetic. And so he uses color, really strong color palettes, like very specifically as a design, component to his work. A lot of his cover work is, almost a real, it's almost like 50%, kind of what you would think of as a graphic design exercise, and 50% illustration.
Oh, that's nice. That's cool.
He's really, fantastic work. And the series is kind of, we kind of describe it as sort of True Detective meets Ozark.
Okay.
It's got this, kind of hard edged, family crime drama kind of vibe to it. So kind of an interesting, counterpoint to the beautiful fantasy of her mind.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen it yet. So, what did you say it was called again?
It's called Black Birch, and so actually, we launched the two kind of simultaneously. So, your episodes come out on Wednesday, and their episodes come out on Thursday.
Awesome. Okay.
And then the other fun thing we've been putting out is kind of 2 anthology series. So one, I don't know if I talked about before, but when all of the lockdown and everything started to happen, we wanted to, as much, in whatever way we could, kind of provide an outlet for people to talk about the experience of just all the different viewpoints that, creators and just people in general kind of feeling and having about the virus and the pandemic and the quarantine and all of that. And so we put together an anthology series called Art versus Apocalypse. And the first, kind of bunch of those are all around just, a bunch of different people's viewpoints on that. So we invited a bunch of creators to, essentially create little short stories. And some of them are just a few taps on the app, like literally, 3 panels. And some of them are full, 10-page short stories and kind of everything in between. And just trying to capture a wide variety of different people's experiences and an outlet to express whatever, around that.
Yeah.
And so those have been coming out, and, really, like, some of them are, they're all great, but some of them are really pretty moving and spectacular. And so that's a free series on the app, and will always be a free series on the app. But just, kind of sort of a quick way, an opportunity to do something hopefully meaningful for both the creator and the audience.
Yeah. That's cool. So that's that's kind of like what I was asking last week about something that's on there for free that people can just try out. And it also introduces a lot of different artists too. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. And it's also, I think it's one of the, we talk a lot about kind of the quality bar and all that stuff. And I think, that generally the quality bar is oriented around story and art. But I think in a case like that, it felt more important to go, let's kind of widen the lens a little bit and just focus more on what are people saying. And, kind of try to provide an opportunity to do that in an interesting way. So, so it's a wide mix of stuff, which I think is pretty cool. And then the other one, which we really like too, and this is also an anthology series, is called Something I Saw in the Dark. And it's kind of got an indie zine feel to it. So it's a bunch of different creators and artists that are all just, little short stories about, either people's personal kind of weird semi-paranormal experiences, or friend of friend stories, or kind of lore, kind of oriented stuff.
Did you say noir or horror?
Lore.
Oh, you said neither.
Okay. So that kind of thing. So that one's kind of fun too, and that it's everything from kind of the type of story that would be in the guy with the hook underneath the car when you're getting in the parking lot, kind of legend, to one which we just put out, which is kind of fun, is this little story about this, this girl who goes to a summer camp where they're doing LARPing. So if anyone doesn't know what LARPing is, it's live action role playing. So you're dressing up in costumes and playing Dungeons and Dragons. So it's, her experience of going to this camp and this kind of shared, was it real? Was it not? Kind of slightly paranormal experience that she and her friends there had. So it's kind of interesting. Again, sort of interesting mix of little stories as an anthology.
That's cool.
So those are all coming out right now, and then we're prepping a couple which we can't announce yet, but are could be pretty big. So kind of excited about that too.
Good. Well, welcome, Nick.
Yeah.
Fresh on the stream.
What's happening?
Nick, meet Eben. Eben's the
hello, Nick.
Masterminds behind Macroverse.
Yeah. Hey, man. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. How's it going?
Another day in the jungle.
Oh, and Fuzzy.
Fuzzy there. Oh, Fuzzy. Sorry, I didn't welcome you.
Yeah, hello. Whatever. I'm here all the time. It's not that important.
So Nick helps me with my lettering and design work of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He does coloring as well as his own comic that he's working on as well. So
very cool.
Yes.
All the above.
Hey, Jason, you said to work on pages 80 through 90 of Phobos.
Yeah.
I don't see where I have 80 through 90.
You don't have 80 through 90 at all? It's the first one. Did I not ever send you anything?
I have chapter 1 and chapter 2. Oh, wait. Oh.
Let me put the screen on Fuzzy real quick while I look for this stuff.
No, never mind. It's chapter 1.
Chapter 1, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just a little slow. That's all.
Okay, so you got it. Nice.
It's magic.
Dang, Fuzzy, that's looking cool.
Thank you.
You're already making some good progress on a nice new opening.
Yeah.
I like that. It's like the rain hitting stuff, but it's hitting the ground, but it's then out of focus in the foreground. Is that right?
Yes.
That is so cool.
That's killer.
All right. Well, sorry. Make some squeaky noises. Well, this whole week has been kind of like not much talking when we're on the show, but I don't want to waste the time while you're on here, Eben. I want to give you a platform to answer questions still. And so anyone in the comments, Eben is the creator of Macroverse, one of the creators. And Macroverse is an app that, well, actually, maybe I'll just let Eben talk more about it. I guess I'll introduce it, though. But on my screen, you will see, let's see, my screen. You'll see here on the right-hand side, Remind is on Macroverse. Remind is no longer at remindblog.com. And it is now on Macroverse, being released through Macroverse. It is an app that is kind of similar to Webtoons, but not featuring the scrolling. It's more about clicking through. I like the approach to reading comics more on Macroverse than I do on Webtoons. Just a personal preference. But there's a whole pile of series on there. So if you like Remind or like my books and you go to Macroverse, download the app, there's a $5 membership per month, which is the cost of a normal comic. You will get not only access to my book, but you'll get access to all the stories on Macroverse. And they curate it so it's not just like the YouTube of comics where anyone can post anything. It's all curated stuff. And I have the pleasure of having my stuff put on there. So I guess it's high enough quality that it has been approved. So yeah. So Evan, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about Macroverse to any newcomers who might not have ever heard of it.
Yeah,
it is. I can show your screen.
Yes. So there we go.
Just give us a introduction, and then we'll open up the chat
Yeah.
and let anyone ask you questions, as well as Nick. Since Nick, I don't know if you have any questions. You weren't on the stream last time with Evan, so.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you covered a lot of the the high points, but we look at this is what it looks like if you're seeing me at the moment. Yeah. So, this is what the app looks like when you first come in here. We're bringing a bunch of material. We've got a bunch of material on the app. We're bringing a bunch more material onto the app. As Jason said, the approach is a little bit different than anything that we've at least become aware of in the kind of mobile and digital comic side of things. So if you look at Remind, for example, we come into the series. Episode 3 came out today, and so new episodes come out every Wednesday, coinciding with these live streams, coincidentally enough. But if you come into the episode here, actually, I'm gonna tap back to the beginning so you get a little sneak preview. But you can see, even as I'm going backwards, this is it's a tap through format as opposed to a scrolling format. And so this was the kind of eureka moment, for us as we were kind of figuring out what do we think comics need to evolve into to live in the kind of modern digital mobile world where we all have these things that we're addicted to in our pockets. So when you come into the episode, it looks like this, and then I'm literally just tapping the screen to move through the story. And so instead of scrolling, it lets us kind of do what we think comics fundamentally are, and that we kind of stole this verbiage from Scott McCloud, but that fundamentally comics are the juxtaposition of images and the juxtaposition ultimately of images and text to create a story experience that's different than reading or different than watching, but it's the combination of kind of taking in those various elements together that creates the storytelling. And I think that when you're looking at a printed comic, you get that by kind of scanning across the page and taking in a bunch of information all at once. You do, I think there is a version of that the kind of web comics or endless scroll provides, but we also think in our opinion you lose a little bit of the kind of active nature of kind of playing images against each other or combining images and text in different ways. And so when we landed on this idea of being able to kind of not only combine images and text more traditionally, but also introduce the element of time, which is what you get in this tap through format, it just opens up a bunch of storytelling opportunities as creators to think about, how are we moving in and out of a scene or a sequence? What impact does it have when you do this kind of crossfade between a series, or being able to change the size and relative location of things on screen? Being able to tap through a sequence and have, dialogue appear or disappear, or interaction between different characters as they either change positions on screen or as you introduce, one element here. So, it's one little example. Here she is, pulling the rat out of victuals. How do you pronounce victuals?
Just vittles.
Jason?
Just vittles.
What is it?
Vittles. Like tender
Vittles.
vittles, the cat food.
Okay, very good.
And then
Should have done that earlier.
victuals, like that way of spelling it is just the old way. It's just
Got
the
it.
old way
Okay.
of spelling it. Yeah.
Then Vittles, as she's taking the rat out of Vittles' mouth, you can see her reaction and the beginning of the action. And then as you tap, you get the rest of the action as she then reacts to it within the dialogue. So it's looking for opportunities like that where you can kind of create these moments of, kind of greater levels of activity, or like going from here to the throw to the splash. It's like you get this sort of more dynamic, in some ways more cinematic way of experiencing the story. And then in sequences where the creator, as Jason did here, has made this series of images, you almost get this slightly animated feeling as well, which we think is really cool. So you can just, it's a different way of thinking about, moving through these sequences and moving through the story. Thinking about, how you bring someone into a scene or out of a scene. We love stuff like this where you're kind of thinking about how are we, establishing in some ways kind of a film or TV, thinking where here's sort of an establishing shot, like where are these characters in relationship to each other, so we have an understanding of the space, what each character is doing, but then we can bring them together in an interesting way by kind of letting the panel and the dynamics of the panel relationships, she gets bigger as she comes into the scene, as she's revealed.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of play between the two of them in that way. So a lot of it is thinking about, what's the impact of, how large something is in relation to something else, or how we're using the negative space, or what's the context. Here we talk a lot about this as we're putting these together. It's like creating context in the way that we're coming into the scene. So now we know, this kind of faded out version of them working on the wheel becomes the context for the rest of the sequence.
Yeah.
So that's a good kind of overview of kind of what this stuff looks like. And, just a lot of fun to work with people like Jason and all the creators that we're working with to kind of think about, how do we, in some ways, deliver the same, impact that, at least we try to think about, how do we deliver the same impact that the creator, was trying to deliver, on the page if it was originally printed, but also rethink, how to best utilize it, for the format.
Very good. I like it.
So that's what that looks like. And then to, Jason's other point, it's like, we do kind of look at it like, if Webtoons is sort of YouTube, where it's an open door and anybody can post anything, which is awesome. I'm glad that exists. Then what we're trying to do is build HBO. So the, kind of very curated, very high quality. Our intent is that that anything you come and see on Macroverse is going to be good. It might or may not be your specific cup of tea, but you can at least count on it being at a certain quality level.
Yeah.
Trying to do something that provides new opportunities, but also kind of changes the game for especially independent creators, but people that want to really kind of take the next, in our opinion, kind of the next step of what comics need to become to survive and thrive in this sort of modern content ecosystem.
Yeah. Great. Maria has a question. Is there a frequency requirement to the new updates on Active Comics, like having a certain number of panels ready for upload every week or so?
It's not a specific requirement. It's more the way we think of it is it's more of an agreement between the series and the audience, so to speak. So there are a bunch of different ways that we can approach some of these things. Some of them it makes the most sense to just get a big chunk of it done ahead of time and then release it more frequently. And there's a certain valid reasons for doing that. But we've also got other series, and Glitch is an example where, a new episode comes out every 4 to 6 weeks. It's usually, we've been consistently kind of every 4 weeks, but that's just the way that they, communicate with their audience, and that we kind of promise, at the very longest, it will be, 6 weeks between episodes. And so that works for them and it works for their audience. And it's actually been one of the most popular series on the platform. So, I think it's less about like you need to put out an episode a week or it needs to be a certain number of taps. And it's more about just every episode feels like a rewarding piece of the story. And there's a reliability between the series, the creators, and the audience.
Yeah, that communication with the audience, just so they know what to expect, is so big.
Yeah,
and it solves a lot of problems. There were so many rules, kind of like some internet rules that were made about how to do webcomics successfully back about 10 years ago, and one of them was you must update every week and these days are better than these days, and and it's like, I don't know, like I've seen it successful with kind of anything as long as it's clear to the audience what it is.
I think it's got to be clear to the audience. There's got to, the audience has to feel like there's some reliability. Yeah. And then I think the other benefit you get from, and the other benefit I think you get from being, on a platform like ours is we do have new stuff coming out all the time. So, if you're kind of coming in here and seeing this new stuff is coming out, then okay, the thing I was waiting for isn't here yet, but here's something else that's cool to
you're right. Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of satisfies
so
that.
we're up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the other series that's coming out kind of with Remind right now. So Remind is Wednesdays, Black Birch is Thursdays, just a real quick preview of this. But this again, just this kind of True Detective meets Ozark kind of vibe to this series.
That's cool coloring. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, I really like Wando's his artist's color sensibility. And one of the things that he did, which we then try to really lean into with this, is because the color palette is so strong, it's like really using color as a way to differentiate and to really identify location.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you're kind of going through and even switching between different locations, it's like we'll kind of pick up one piece of that color palette as a way to kind of transition between places or moments. But so there's an example of like we're finishing the scene here as we're moving into the next sequence, but being able to kind of bring us into that just very simply by the emphasizing that kind of color difference. So anyway, this is another cool one that's up right now, and totally different. So some of the things that is kind of fun.
I love the colors.
Yeah, no,
and how you're using it too. I like those transitions. It's really neat.
Yeah. So check that out. The first episode is up for free for that as well. But of course, we're coming here to read Remind and then finding stuff that we like as well. So that's kind of a quick overview, and definitely ask me more questions. One other thing I always like to point out is, just because I'm kind of proud of it, is that we built this system where the intent is to really provide this hub for creators around their series. So if here we are on Remind, number one, if you hit a link from one of Jason's videos or from someplace online that's specifically pointing towards Remind, you'll actually land on this page as opposed to the home screen, or even directly into an episode once you've got the app installed. So we really are trying to build tools that allow people to kind of go, I want to be able to get people to my thing, and then hopefully they'll find other stuff. But it's like let's facilitate that kind of direct interaction between the audience and the creator. And then we also have this thing that we call our feed for every series. So we actually need to put a link to the live stream up here as well. But anything related to the series can go here. So we can put a link to the store to go buy the book if you want to, or we did a podcast together, which is on our podcast feed, but also on Jason's YouTube channel. So anything related or relevant, or if you've got merchandise or anything that sort of supports the series, can become a direct link from within that little ecosystem or that hub around the series. Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, I see another question, but it's I think it's to me. Me. Jason Brubeck, aren't cats supposed to be in every comic? Where is the cat in Phobos? Also, do you love cats or hate them? I think Pinnacle hates them. I've had good and bad cat experiences in the past, and so I will not ever have a cat again. Probably. But I do like cats. I like dogs better. Sorry, cat lovers. And yes, cats are supposed to be in every one of my comics. And you will have to just wait till the end of Phobos to see the how the cat shows up. So,
sounds like he got another call from his agent.
Yeah, Evan's talking about this this comic I made. After Remind ended, I had an update where Vittles is sitting on the beach with sunglasses on, vacationing, and suddenly his phone rings and he answers and he's talking to, I guess it ended up being he was talking to me, and so he's like, "Oh, hey Jason, oh you're on the 4th printing, great, that's awesome," and then he's like, "Oh really? You have another job for me?" So we're gonna try to put that out on Macroverse once Remind wraps up too. But yeah, so that's my thing, is just trying to keep the cat coming back. The cat comes back. He's always playing a different role. He didn't, he wasn't in shapes though, but that's because it wasn't necessarily my story that I started with. So, but I do have the main character wearing a Coffee Table Comics t-shirt. So that's kind of the little crossover. So whoops, I need to get this question off screen. Another question. I submitted a little something to Macroverse. You guys replied back whether I get rejected or not. Just curious.
Oh, yes. You guys, Noon Comics are in conversation right now. So I promise we will get back to you. We've been looking. We've actually gotten a lot of stuff recently. So I apologize for that, but we have looked at it and we'll get back to it.
Good. Hopefully some of that stuff has been coming from this show.
Some of it has indeed.
Good. Yeah. Hey, Nick, what you working on? You working on some lettering? Look at that. Nick will show you how to make fonts right now.
Yeah, I'm working on a font for Phobos.
Nice.
So, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, everything in Phobos right now is kind of temporary as far as the lettering goes. We're going to try to kind of spruce it up a little bit more. Well, not quite as far as Citra went with the fonts, but at least making it have its own feel and stuff. So that's what Nick's helping me with. And if you guys didn't know, Nick helped me with all the lettering and word balloons for Citra 5 and 6. So
awesome.
That's why it looks so good.
Well, thank you.
Mia is asking what you use to create your fonts. Obviously, you're using Photoshop, but what's your process for making it into it?
Well, I'm going to buy software, but I haven't yet. But I guess this is good for everybody. So I use a website called Calligrapher. Calligraphr, and you create an account, and you can, for free, you can create basic fonts with a limited number of characters. And so you just download a template. If I zoom out, I can show you. You download a template and draw your letters into the template and then upload it, and it'll convert it to a font for you. So that's kind of the easiest way right now. But sooner or later here, I'm going to actually invest in some software. I just haven't really decided what yet.
I'm familiar with Fontographer, but that's the only app I'm familiar with that specifically does it.
Yeah. I've looked into it a couple of times, and I can't ever quite decide.
Yeah.
A few of them are really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Which you would think for making a font, it wouldn't be that expensive because, I don't know, fonts don't seem that complex.
No one comics says, thank you, Eben.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Nick.
No, that's okay. I was just, it seems like the one was, I don't know, even there was one, I think that's $500 or $600. And I'm like,
daggum. Is that worth it? I mean,
no, I can't see why. I mean, obviously a year of Photoshop doesn't cost that much.
Right.
Does it?
At that point, wouldn't you just, draw, write it on pen and paper yourself? $500, that's insanity.
Yeah. I mean, it's for, the entirety of the software to create all the fonts you want, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, but I
think the one I was looking at is $50. So I'll probably jump on that here sooner or later. But right now, this works really, really easy for creating your own fonts. So,
yeah.
And I've even done this both in Photoshop and Illustrator. It doesn't, obviously you just download the template. It doesn't matter what software you use, and then you just save it. has the right file format and upload it, and it creates the font for you. So
Yeah. I've always used this site called yourfonts.com, and it's similar. You just download a template like that, draw on your fonts, and then upload it, and then it generates the font, and then you download it for like $9, and then it's yours. And I've made all my fonts that way. This looks like it's probably a little more precise, though.
And it's free for one font.
Fuzzy, anyone told you your voice sounds like one of the hosts on Drawfee?
Trophy. No. Which one? How many of you do you know what that is? Do any of you know?
I don't know what that is.
Do any of you know what College Humor is?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't even know. I think that company might be defunct now. But the one of the things that stemmed from it was this show called Drawfee, where it's just a bunch of artists who get on for like, they'll video themselves drawing something, each of them for like a topic, whatever the topic happens to be, and then they'll replay it back in high speed and commentate over it. And of course, it was from College Humor, so it's comedy based, but they're more cartoony style than true like comic book or anime or anything like that.
Never heard of them. Justin says, does the Brewbaker have a Discord going on for this group of creator followers? I do not. I'm sorry.
You should. You should totally make it a Discord.
I just don't want another thing that I have to keep up on.
Oh no, you could put Fuzzy in charge of moderation.
All right, Fuzzy.
Bro, I got enough stuff going on. Don't be like that.
Set it up, Fuzzy. Be the moderator.
Killing me.
Sorry.
I mean, I could set one up for you. That'll take me like 2 seconds, but I'm not gonna spend all day moderating it.
Yeah,
That's a good thing for your Patreon, though.
Yeah, that would be.
I did have a Discord group for the Patreon, but it took up too much time. It was like, and then when I would neglect it, then it just looks bad, like I'm neglecting my responsibilities. So,
Well, then don't neglect your
responsibilities. I don't want to neglect it. So I don't know, unless someone really wants to do it for me, I don't see ever happening.
Comics Discord.
That's how a lot of the YouTubers and artists and everything work. Is they'll put a good couple of months of work into it, and then they'll just find a fan who's willing enough to be the moderator. So
we're looking at the chat currently to see if anybody's going to volunteer for that.
Volunteers, welcome.
I'm sorry, Evan, by the way, it feels like I just woke up just now. Kid you not. It feels like we've been streaming, and I forgot that I was on a stream and I was just drawing and stuff, and I just woke up.
I don't want to sound rude, but it looked like you had just woken up.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm sorry, Evan, about last Friday, though, is because those guys are brutal on you.
God. I didn't think they were brutal at all. Fine.
I was like, oh no, terrible way. Stop it, you jerks.
It's a good, lively conversation.
Good.
Was he on the?
He was on Pontificators with Art and Chester and Bob and me for a minute, but then I jumped ship to be a moderator because there's just not enough seats, and since I get to hang out with Evan on Wednesdays, I was like, give them a chance to talk to him. So I was sitting there moderating, and the crowd was very skeptical about this product because it sounded too good to be true. So I had to keep posting.
That's a really great place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want them to stay skeptical, but yeah, it's a
yeah. No, it was generally, I thought, very, very positive across the board. So it's all good.
Yeah.
What were some of the things that they thought were too good to be true?
The $5 a month thing for unlimited comics was a thing that was kind of like a, and then the content of those comics, like what kind of comics are going to be put on it. And I had to jump in there after Evan went in and reassure them that the only reason why there's not like any that Evan didn't mean that there's not going to be any superhero or any of that type of comic on there. What Evan doesn't want is just a bunch of copycats of those characters on the platform just to sell,
Yeah.
Like that's what Evan meant. And because they took it wrong right off the bat. And I was like, no, calm down, people. Calm down.
That was the only one that caught me by surprise. It was just like, where's all the superhero stuff? I was like,
yeah,
exactly. Where is all the superhero stuff?
Yeah.
So is there going to be an effort to serve that crowd as well?
No. I mean, the truth of the matter is we're not focused on at all on, oh, we're missing this, let's go get it. What we're much more interested in is like, oh, here's somebody doing something really interesting that happens to be about superheroes. Let's try to bring that onto the platform.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I had to tell them was like, he has nothing against superheroes and stuff like that, but he's not just gonna go out and be like, hey, where can we find a Superman-like comic so that we can put it on our site so we get more revenue? He's not going to go out and do that. If someone came to him and had an interesting idea and had a character that was similar, but it was done in an original way, then I don't think Evan would oppose to it.
Yeah.
It has to be original. Like this original, like you want original content.
I want to see somebody take superheroes and do something interesting with it. I mean, the thing that came up as we were talking is, like Invincible, came up as an example, and it's the perfect example. It's like, it's great, totally true to the tropes of a great, superhero story, but doing something different, unique, and interesting with those tropes. The Boys is another one that I absolutely love. So, if somebody's making that, we'll love to have it.
Yeah. That's all. That's all. I was trying. The reason why is because that crowd is majority of it is Comicsgate. So they're feeling very spited by DC and Marvel, and they have kind of like a hunger for those kinds of books, but they don't want to support DC and Marvel. So that's why they were like, asking like, where are these kinds of books? Because I'm looking for a place to get these kinds of books because I don't want to support DC and Marvel. It's a little backstory behind that kind of crowd. So
Fun.
Interesting. Yeah.
No, it's like they're cool. It's just sometimes they're very skeptical about everything. They're little conspiracy theorists about everything.
And wait, you want me to go on the show, Zach, Friday?
Well, no, the thing is, the difference is that you would go on to be showing them your work and other things. And to be honest, you're an independent, and Art isn't. He doesn't care if you can come on if you're CG or not. He doesn't really care. But the people that watch, like the crowd, majority of them are CG. So that's the thing, is because like I know there's a few of our hosts aren't CG and they're regulars and they come on, and Art doesn't care, so he doesn't have that tribalism thing of like only,
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you guys. It felt like once I said like CG, all of a sudden it was like all the air in the room was like, oh.
Yeah, that gets my finger on the trigger right there.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Why?
Not because I want to be careful about how I say this, because like I don't think that everyone from certain camps of thought are bad. It's just that the moment that you become affiliated with a group, you invite hate from certain other groups, and so the fear is not like, I don't have any problem with being friends with these people or talking to them or I don't know, and even supporting them. It's more like I'm so young, and I don't want my career ruined.
The thing, though, you already are, though. You're a Christian, so therefore, you already are, and it goes the same with Comicsgate and stuff like that. It's just like you're not going to appease everybody. You can align yourself with who you agree with, you know. And then you can be graceful and show kindness to everybody else, and then you can represent it the way that you want to represent it, you know, like how I'm a Christian and I want to show people that the path is through love and kindness. It's not through trying to destroy each other. But yet there are Christians and sects of Christianity out there that are very like Westboro Baptist Church types, you know? Yeah. So it's just like you get the spectrum on anything that you are or do, and you don't really have that choice. There are groups like you said you don't want to associate with just because there is way more negative things involved than there are positive things, and that's a choice, you know?
Exactly.
I respect that. I respect it completely, you know? But it's just like, that was something I had to realize is that I was being called Comicsgate when I wasn't Comicsgate just because I hung out with Art and them and whatnot. And so it's just like it didn't even matter that if I was or wasn't at some point, just because I was guilty by association. You know, but it kind of it's weird, you know. I mean, like, if you hang out with people, hang out with us, they assume we're Christians and stuff like that. But like yesterday, Craig's an atheist, but we have no problem with him being here, you know.
Yeah, I guess what I was saying was that I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't live in fear like that, but it was the just the thought that people are going to make those assumptions and
yeah, well, that's life though. That everybody does. All of them do. Everybody does.
But I don't want them to, and I want to avoid them as actively
you can't control it though.
This is my opinion. Like, so I made a video on it because everyone was asking where I stood, and I just said, "Look, you're all crybabies on both sides. Go to your room and shut up."
I remember that video. I was like, "Yes, finally, somebody
stop being idiots fighting online.
Yeah,
just shut up and do a comic and put it out." You know.
Yeah.
And both sides, I had a swarm of emails from both sides saying, "Oh, but you didn't talk about this other bad thing they did," on both sides.
Yeah.
And
did you talk about anything that anybody did?
I just real briefly, you know, but not too much. I just didn't care. I don't care about a lot of the stuff they're talking about, you know. But still to this day, it's like people are mad at me for not picking sides, and some of the biggest comments were like, "You're a fence sitter," and I'm like, "Dude, I would rather sit on a fence than be anywhere in your yards." You know, like I'm in a different neighborhood. I've been doing comics, indie comics, longer than this whole thing has been around. So, you know, like, come to me, my sons, and learn. Go shut up and go to your room. So anyway. That was my opinion, but it didn't help because suddenly both sides are mad at me now, and so I'm just like, you know what? I don't care anymore. But the one thing I will say is, it's those kind of labels are the ones that I just don't care to entertain. Like, yeah, the Christian thing, I'll die on that hill. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to die on any Comicsgate hill, anti-Comicsgate or pro-Comicsgate. You know, it just doesn't matter to me. You know, so anyway, that's.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
That's why I'm just like, I
mean, this is probably the only thing I'll say about it too, is that I think what you said, Jason, is, you know, if it's something that is so troubling to you, then just talking about it doesn't do anything. Like, you take action in some way. So if you're not seeing what you want in the market, go make that thing.
Go make it, yeah.
And if you can't do that, then find something else. I don't know. But
you should be making comics if you can't make the thing that you're. Well, no, I guess there's consumers and there's that side too. So yeah. So I guess that's more the statement towards people actually in making comics versus the consumers buying comics.
And I wasn't trying to spark controversy just now.
No, man.
I was just trying to say, like,
don't
sorry
apologize.
if you felt.
Don't apologize.
As far as being part of that conversation, I didn't even realize that was the subtext. So that's probably a little ignorance on my part. But but I mean, I don't have any problem with any questions. So people can ask anything, and I'll do my best to engage in a rational conversation, which that was a rational conversation. So
I don't think any of us lost our minds during that.
No.
So, cool. Worked out.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't talk about that subject too much just because of that. After that one video, I was like, okay, well, I said nothing. I'm done.
I need you to know that if you had any doubt that was like worth doing, that really helped. Like that helped me through the whole like, what do I do with myself now kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm trying to make comics. I'm trying to get into this, and now it's like lines are being drawn. What do I do? And then you were like, hey everybody, did you know there's a third option? That you could all just shut up. It's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it. I got a lot of emails too from people just really thankful for it too, because the problem was at the time it's like the air was just sucked out of the room and everybody felt suffocated. No one felt like they could say anything. Everyone was walking on eggshells. Comics weren't fun. Like everyone hated each other. Everyone was critical and doubting what they were doing now. It's like, really, that's the kind of market we want to say is freedom, So, everyone shut up.
Make a dang book, man.
Make your book. Yeah. And the statement since then is put the drama into your book. Don't put it online as part of who you are. If you're more drama online, then your books are probably really boring, and that's usually the case.
Yeah.
You can be really boring online, and then have some pretty dramatic books.
I mean, just to tease our the podcast conversation that we had available on Jason's YouTube channel, but one of the slightly related topic that we got into, which I love, is talking about Remind. There's a lot of personal story for you, Jason, in that series, in that story. Yeah. But it's you found a way to kind of creatively talk about things that were important to you in an entertaining way, where it's not just let me hit you over the head with this specific thing or message or event, but rather how do I say something, how do I talk about something in a way that could resonate with a lot of people, and with more universal ideas or themes or ways of kind of bringing you into a world and a set of characters. And I think the most impactful art does that. It's about something, but it's not I want to talk about hammer, so I'm going to paint a picture of a hammer.
Yeah. I think that's the power of storytelling, is you can you can talk about really difficult things with it being entertaining, and I think it changes people more than just conversations in a lot of ways. There's a lot of stories that I've read that have made me think differently, and then I go, oh, and then maybe it sparks a new idea, and then I go off on this trail and I discover this new thing or whatever it is, this new idea. I don't know, it's just really great. I mean, everyone's seen this. Everyone's seen this book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what a piece of crap that is,
right? Shouldn't this be censored?
Yeah.
But no, it's an award-winning, amazing book about a true story told through the eyes of mice.
Yes.
So
very, very good point. Yes.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, that's so. I've just been so convinced over the last couple of years that storytelling is just the most powerful thing you can do to change the world, to change society, to just have conversations. I think the other powerful form of art is music, but I think music affects people in different ways. But stories can get a lot deeper, You can emotionally connect with someone through music, but you can't always just convey an idea as straightforward as stories.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. Let's see. Anyone else got some questions here? If you guys have questions, type it in all caps, or type question in all caps, and then I'll make sure to see it.
They're all angry at me for talking.
You're like, question!
They're all, shut up, Zach. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was apologizing.
No need, but thank you.
Feels like one of those things I should have mentioned beforehand. Oh, by the way, Evan, here's the lion's den.
It's probably better that you didn't, because it was in retrospect, it's kind of nice to have just been able to engage in that conversation without any preconceived thinking or notions about it. So, worked out fine.
So you're coloring the Remind fan art. I see. Good, man.
Thanks. I was just realizing though, like I don't know how she's breathing underwater, but
Comic books.
Yeah.
This is the next generation of the suit. There's a little patch on the back of her neck, of course, that doesn't suck oxygen out of the water.
She's one of the new mutants. Oh no, getting into controversy. No.
What?
You guys have heard of the new that relaunch of the New Mutants?
Oh,
No.
It actually doesn't look terrible as far as the art. It's just they just need to stop like trying to redo the exact same thing over and over and over.
Oh, we got someone else.
They just need to
Welcome, Nolan. What's that name?
It's a me.
So cheesy.
I came up with a few good questions if like things ever got too stale, or if we needed a subject change.
Okay.
And one of the questions was if you could make any either written work or movie or like any sort of thing that you're really a fan of, if you could make that into a comic and get paid to do it, what would you do?
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
I'm sorry, what?
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Is that a book?
No, the movie starring Rowdy Piper.
Wait, what's the question? I missed it. Sorry.
If you can make a comic out of
This
any
looks
sort of like
fantastic.
medium thing that you really like you have a book that you really really like or a movie that you really really like, and then they were going to pay you to make a comic,
Yeah.
either that has to do with it or something, what would it be?
Okay. So like if you're kind of working on your favorite franchise or something like that.
Yeah, basically.
I have something, but I don't want to say what it is because it's just way in the future.
Jason can't say what it is because he's got a legitimate shot of possibly making it. So he's
New Mutants. That's what you would be working on.
the old, new, old mutants.
I would like to do a Spider-Man though. I still would like to do that. That's been a dream ever since I was a teenager. And I've recently been like, no, not gonna do it. It's not mine. But I think I would.
You could do like a Spider-Man, run. You do like, you do like a story.
Yeah, like Batman 100 or whatever it was. Batman Year.
Yeah, just
Year
like
100.
a single issue or a short couple issues or something like that. If it was ever pitched, or if it was ever an option for me to be able to do it, that would be fun. But your question, Zach, is more like any kind of thing, right? Not just other comics.
Yeah, not just the comics. It would be like anything, like a movie that you really like, or an anime, or a book, or
Yeah, I have. The thing I'm thinking about is there's this old history book that there's some stories in there that I really would love to do as comics, but with animals somehow. Kind of like that's why I got some of the reference books I have here. But it's stuff that I've never seen anyone make comics of, so because it's not really the most things. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, I don't want to say anything about it because I don't want people to look into it.
Mine.
Yeah.
Dibs.
It'll be something really, really cheesy and stupid that everyone would be like, really? That? That story about my grandmother.
Now you're trying to save it up so that you can drop a bomb. You'd be like, guess what? I'll just...
No, I think I would have a shot at getting publishers to be interested in it if I actually put the idea together and pitch it to the right publishers. I think there would be a good shot at getting people, a publisher interested. So,
did you guys ever see a series DC put out years ago? Is like a whole book series called Paradox Press?
No.
So I have a bunch of these and really like them, but they did this kind of series of books more for the bookstore market, but taking a topic and then hiring a bunch of artists and illustrators of all stripes, comics people, non-comics people, to illustrate. And so they had one that was like the big book of the weird Wild West was one that I remember very fondly. Like all these kind of weird stories from the expansion into as we started going west in the US here. And then they had one that was like paranormal mystery stories, and they had that one that was kind of I think there was one that was all focused on different weird stories about different presidents and just kind of interesting, kind of eclectic topics. But I thought that was always kind of a cool idea of just kind of these things that are historically accurate but illustrated in really interesting ways.
Yeah.
You Fuzzy?
I've been thinking very, very hard about this.
Must be careful about this.
This is a hard one. Hang on, I'm also trying to focus on what I'm doing.
Well, I guess I'll answer. I loved a series when I was a kid called Pendragon.
What? Dude, I've already drawn pages and I was gonna send them to him.
Yeah, dude, Pendragon or Artemis Fowl, but a good Artemis Fowl. I know they did kind of a graphic novel thing with Artemis Fowl, but it sucked.
They did one for Pendragon too, and it was terrible.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't.
There's also an Artemis Fowl movie about to hit Disney Plus. It doesn't look like it's great either.
Oh, are they not releasing it in theaters?
No, it's going straight to Disney Plus.
Of course, but like a really good, well done. They're one of those.
Yeah, let's see if I can find that art that I did.
And you call it but you don't call it Pendragon. You call it Pendragon.
Oh, I just never met anybody else who was a fan of it, so I've been saying it that way.
No, the same here.
Since I was a kid.
I've never met anybody else that's actually read it. Love that series, man. It's so cool.
Have you read it recently?
No, I haven't gone back and read it, but I imagine that it doesn't age well.
The topics are still really cool, and he did a lot of things before other people did, which was really interesting. But the writing is very... I mean, it's geared towards kids, so I don't know if I can...
I was about to say it's meant for teenagers to understand. Young adult.
Yeah.
So
where is it?
That, or if get to Ender's Game.
Yes.
It's a good Ender's Game. Like a 1-to-1.
I almost went and saw the movie, and then my friend told me to never go see it.
No, it'll ruin you. You'll be
The books are so much better.
Yeah. That looks
All right,
Have you read the whole series, Zach?
Yeah. Bean is my favorite.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely on Team Bean.
And your shadow.
Team Bean.
Team Bean.
It's so much
That
better.
just sounded so funny.
Bean is so much better in every way. You know, it's just he makes Ender look like an idiot. He really does. Bean starts off in like this horrible place, and he overcomes it, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this was the cover I did.
Wait, where are you at? Where is Fuzzy? There's Fuzzy.
Oh, cool.
Dang.
It was
Cool, man.
that. I don't know if I don't remember if I actually liked because I think if I go back, I really like this cover, but I think I wanted to redraw stuff on the pages.
How recent was this?
I don't know. Good question.
Because this doesn't look like old. Like this looks like familiar
Well,
style.
No, I told you I was gonna send it to him, like as in like recently I was gonna send it to him.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, it was pretty while ago. It was June.
Of last year?
Yeah, of 19.
Okay, so it was a year. This is a year old.
So then there's the.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, cool. Zoom in.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do with this, Fuzzy? Are you gonna send it to the
I'm
author?
gonna send it to him and be like, "Hey, did you know that you could have a good version of your comic?" Hold on a second. I gotta grab it because I own it. Hang on.
That's so cool.
All right, so the front cover, I don't want to be rude. The overall thing is not terrible. It's just like it didn't make me want to pick it up.
Young
So,
boy
like-
on the cover. Oh, you have the horrible version.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is that the graphic novel or is that the actual book?
No, this is the graphic novel. The books are upstairs. The book covers are beautiful,
I was about
which
to
is
say,
why I was so confused by this. It's like this is terrible.
Flip through some of the pages.
So, and then it's all black and white, right? It's so hard to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on. There we go. So, like, it's not the worst drawings ever, but, like, the characters don't look anything like what I thought they would. And, I mean, that happens, you know?
Yeah.
You get an image of what you expect somebody to look like, but, like, they just look so... I don't know. It's
It
just...
feels like they went shopping for a graphic novel artist in the like children's book section. You know what I mean?
and then let me find the yes, I agree. So
Slightly derogatory towards children's book illustrators.
no.
Some of the children's books I have, I kind of like. I'm like, why did these people?
I think he's speaking more broadly. Like it seems that the market is saturated with, but like, dude, check out the Quigs.
Okay.
I just feel like any one of us could have done like
Yeah, I have like a better version in my book.
could have
didn't realize
sneezed
that.
some ink onto paper and made a better version of that. Like, I don't. Yuck. Just yuck. And then it's such a. I don't know how to like this. The first book is not like. It's a sort of Spirited Away kind of story, and the kid ends up in a place that's like this. Like, I don't know how would you describe it? Like,
It's like
the time of like nights.
like another universe that's exactly the same as ours, but not. I don't know. It's how do I like it teleports you from another galaxy to another galaxy.
Well, it teleports
on other sides of of everything that's going on at the same time.
It moves you around the universe basically.
Yeah.
But regardless, the first setting that he's in the first book is like, you know, arguably not a
isn't it
beautiful
medieval?
place.
It's a medieval place, yeah. It's like
which can be boring if you do it wrong, and it's so easy to screw that up. And I just don't know why you wouldn't hire someone who's more capable. I don't know. I feel like I'm harping on this artist too much. I gotta back off a little bit. Somebody's gonna come and beat me up.
Yeah.
Well, I like your version a lot better.
Yeah, I like yours
We'll
a
say
lot.
that.
That's so interesting. Great minds think alike.
My grandparents got me that series, and I was like, oh, another. You know, it's always a gamble when somebody gets you something that you've never heard of, and you didn't ask for specifically. They're like, I think you'll like this, and I was like, okay. And then I read it, and I was like, I actually love it.
Good job.
So the end gets very strange.
I'm gonna let you know. I
It's
haven't
real weird.
read the 10th book.
Huh?
I have not read the 10th book.
Okay, just to let you know, it gets really, really weird.
The 10th book, dang, that's some commitment.
It's worth it.
Oh yeah.
Says the guy who makes 1,500-page graphic novel.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? If I were to take this on, I would never have any job ever again. I would be the Pendragon guy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, if it paid your bills for the next 40 years, would you care?
well, yeah, because I have my own ideas that I want to
The
do.
thing is, you could always do the other things too. It's just that'd be your day job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of graphic novel artists that don't even release their first graphic novel till they're already Jason's age, just because they were working on supporting their family and stuff while they're doing this on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's just nothing stopping you other than you.
Appreciate the implication of being Jason's age,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Jason's already released a bunch of graphic novels and all this other stuff, but I have a
We know what you meant.
I have a friend that just barely released his first comic, and he is older than Jason. And I'm like, do it, go for it,
Yeah.
don't stop.
I mean, it's also the time we're living into where people can see that they can just do the work and then put it out online, and there's actually a chance that people will read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is exciting, and that's why I started putting my stuff online when I did. It's because I was like, yeah, well, also I didn't know how to actually get in front of the right people, and my career was kind of taking all my time, so I didn't really know how to even shop around books to even try to change my careers. And so I was like, well, there's webcomics. I could do that. Just see if anyone reads it.
And lo and behold,
And blammo.
Remind was born.
Yeah. I was going through the remind pages yesterday for book 2 and converting them over. So partially for Eben and then also for this other company. And man, it's so bizarre at this point because it really does feel like it was a long time ago. And I read it and I'm still like, I still get emotional when I read it because it's just like, I'm like, yes, I actually did that. I'm like really proud of it.
I had a miniature version of that just now when I pulled up that art.
Yeah.
From like I was like, oh man, how come I got worse?
Because you started trying to draw anime.
I mean,
It doesn't suit you.
The frustrating part is like, it will still sell better. Even if I do a worse job at anime than I would at the other stuff, it's still going to sell better.
So are you trying to say is that you're selling out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My name is Fuzzy and I sell out.
But you sell out so you could feed your kid and wife. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's not like
if money was not the discussion, then I certainly would not be selling out so easily.
It's like no different than